Hello everyone, my name is Monica Sewell, and today I will be talking about the relationship between prefrontal cortex asymmetry, mental health, and stress. First, I wanted to mention that this is just a proposed study. I have not done any research regarding this, but I have read extensively into the literature, and so today I am just going to be talking about the relationship between all of these aspects. First, I will talk about the prefrontal cortex and its functions and why it's important and where it is in the brain. And then I will delve into mental health and stress, and then I'll discuss why all of these things are intertwined and important in relationship to each other. Okay, so the image you have in front of you is the brain, and as you can see, the prefrontal cortex is in the front portion of the brain, it's in the anterior region. And it is such an important and vital part of the brain. It's responsible for decision making, executive function, emotion regulation, emotion intelligence, perception, language. It's the reason why we plan our day out, we get up in the morning, we make breakfast, we walk the dog, we speak. It's the reason we can communicate and understand each other. So it's a pretty major aspect of the brain. I mean, the whole brain is very important, but the prefrontal cortex is particularly important. The reason why it is so interesting in respect to asymmetry is that there have been quite a few studies out there researching the difference between the left and right hemisphere of the prefrontal cortex, specifically looking at alpha waves. Alpha waves are important. It looks at 8 to 12 hertz, and alpha is important because it's when you're in a relaxed state that the alpha waves are heightened. And so it's interesting to look at that in respects to emotion, mental health, and stress, because in certain situations there could be a difference in activation between the left and right hemisphere. And so the reason prefrontal cortex asymmetry is important is because it has so many functions, and so there has been quite a bit of research regarding it and how humans do essentially have a left brain and a right brain, even though that theory has kind of been debunked about how people who are more left-brained are more artistic, while people who are more right-brained are more math-oriented and scientific. That theory has been debunked, but prefrontal cortex asymmetry hasn't, because there has been research to support that there is a difference in functioning when in regards to many aspects. But in respects to what I'm looking at for this particular study is mental health and stress. Okay, in regards to mental health and prefrontal cortex asymmetry, it seems like there has been a lot of studies regarding depression, anxiety, OCD, and things of that nature, where people who do have mental health disorders tend to have greater right prefrontal cortex asymmetry, while people who do not tend to have greater left prefrontal cortex asymmetry. And so this phenomenon has become interesting as more literature and research articles have been popping up regarding this, but there hasn't been any research about mental health and stress within the same study, and that is what I am interested in looking at. Okay, so in respect to stress, there has been some research regarding this and prefrontal cortex asymmetry. Um, In these studies, the measurement to measure stress have been cortisol levels, looking at EKG, so heart rate, and then also just self-report. And all of these studies have seen that people who are more stressed or come down from stressors less easily than others have great right activation in their prefrontal cortex, and the people who aren't as stressed and come down from stressors much easily, which those people have greater left prefrontal cortex activation. And so this kind of information is interesting, and it's good to further science in this aspect, because if you can look at mental health and stress on a neurological basis, it can help with treatments and what mental health practitioners do when they are able to look at brain scans, brain imaging, as well as looking at EEGs. In my particular study, I'm going to be doing EEGs and looking at the difference between left and right alpha, and just to see the difference between mental health and stress, because there have not been many studies looking at prefrontal cortex asymmetry with mental health and stress. So that is the purposes for my study, to see if they're interlinked and intertwined within the same study.